go ahead and call the meeting to order. I think we have at least several of the members on. We'll call a roll here in next. So let's see. Let me see if I can run through my memory here. Catherine Alexander, are you on? Okay, Catherine is not on. Aaron Boatwright, I see. So hi, Aaron.
Hi.
All right. Donna Pittman, are you on, Donna?
Yep, I'm on.
Okay, thank you, Donna. And I heard Brad Mudd come on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And our newest member, Pat Casey. I heard Pat there.
Yes, sir.
So the question is who did I miss? I probably missed somebody.
Chris Harris, but he told us he wasn't going to be able to make it today.
Okay, so we're missing Chris and Catherine. Is that correct?
Yes, that leaves you, that gets you to the 7.
But that gives us enough to do what we need to do.
Yep, you needed 4 and we have 5, so we're good.
So we're good. All right, that's great. Pat, welcome to this group, and you'll get to meet the city folks as they begin talking here in a bit. But why don't, just for all of our benefits, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, and that way you're not a stranger to us.
Well, I work for the city of Sugar Creek as their city administrator, and I figured I didn't have nothing else to do. I've since moved into the Independence area, and I always wanted to get in something here, and I've done that. But I've also been with the fire department in Sugar Creek for about 35 years, so I'm still working there. So I know both chiefs that are on here, and I know a couple of the other folks, and I'm just looking forward to working with you all.
All right. That's great, Pat. Well, we appreciate you spending time with us and your willingness to bring your expertise to us, because some of us aren't as well versed in public safety as it appears you are. So, all right. Well, having said that, the next thing up is approval of the minutes from the January 13, 2021 meeting. I looked those over and I didn't find anything except for that the change that Heather already talked about and spelling Brad's name correctly. Anybody else find anything that need to be changed from the minutes?
No, I move to approve.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Brad. And who else was on there as the second?
I second.
Is that Donna? All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Donna. All right. Well, then I'm gonna call the roll. Pat, just for your benefit, when we're doing this by video, we're calling a roll for the vote, and that's how we are doing that. So I'm just kind of going to do it according to the list that I'm seeing. So Donna, you're first.
Yes.
Okay. And Pat?
Yes.
And Aaron?
Yes.
And Brad?
Yes.
Okay, so minutes are approved. And that takes us up to an update from the fire department. Chief Short, I'm not sure who's doing that. I see you, and I see David Shelley, and I'm not sure who's doing that. So, and I don't see Mark. So I heard Mark's retiring. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you hadn't heard, Mark is retiring at the end of this month. So 34 years of service with Independence. He's finally decided to hang his up for a little while. So this week I'll be doing the report, but Dave Shelley is my Assistant Chief of Services, who probably deals 90% in public safety sales tax. With his job is going to be taking over, giving these presentations to you and putting the reports together for you. But today it's going to be me. So what I'll do is, I know not all of you are on visual, but I'll go ahead and put the report actually up on the screen here and share my screen.
Okay.
And I'll just kind of go through with you on the quarterly report. So this is going to be information for the Independence Fire Department through February 28th of 2021 as we go here. As usual in our reports, we always start with the background of the sales tax as it started back in 2004 and will continue on. And then, so the first area that we'll hit into here is our quarterly, somewhat of a quarterly report, because remember, we don't always get our numbers of the exact quarter when we have these presentations. But beginning in the 2020-2021 fiscal year, which started July 1, we had an unassigned fund balance of $1,243,946. That is basically what you would consider to be our reserve in the public safety sales tax. As of 2/28 of 2021, so this fiscal year collections, we have collected $1,466,087, which is right on track, even despite COVID being where it was. We still stayed pretty close to being on track for our sales tax revenues. Our actual, and it actually revised upwards. So our current revised projection for 2021 for the fire department is $2,018,802. That's up about $9,000, I think, is a projection. Again, that's a projection, so it doesn't mean that we will bring it in, and it doesn't mean we won't bring more in. One of the other things that probably you will hear talked about here later by police is with the use tax. While we lose local sales tax, and that is recovered through use tax for online purchasing, they have reached a point at which there will be a potential for waterfall back into the public safety sales tax for the fire department, which at this time it's estimated for this calendar year to be about a $42,000 waterfall back into the tax, which is good because we didn't anticipate any waterfall for at least several years. So that's a pretty good process for us to bring in a little bit from that use tax as well. Just quickly, I'll kind of go through our expenditures. And there looks to be, I missed a couple, and I'll go back to the page 2. The report that you have said our sales tax were collected 12/31 of 20. It actually should be February. I'll send out the updated 28th. Same thing with the title here. It actually goes through February 28th of 2021. As I go through our line items for public safety sales tax in the different, you'll see the original appropriation in each one of those areas, the year-to-date expended, as well as what is still currently available. As you'll see in all of these, we have not expended any of our budget. We still have a couple major purchases that are still on board. A lot of our maintenance purchases are still, ongoing. One significant thing that I'll tell you that we probably will see that will roll into our unassigned fund balance is training and education. We have quite a bit left into that this year. That's mostly because the sales tax training that we usually assign to this is going outside of the department to do training and hands-on activities, learning new skills, things of that nature. With COVID, obviously, we've not been able to go out and do that. So we're going to see, some of that money roll back into our unassigned fund balance this year. The professional services are for our physicals, which will be coming up soon. And that's the 5226. and then you'll see just a remaining on some of these other line items that we have. Under our capital outlay, which is the 5400s on page 3, you'll see that there's still some remaining funds in building and outlay, some in computer equipment. Mobile equipment, we're almost down to nothing, but the majority of that is because of encumbrances. You know, you'll see we only spent 6,800 and there's only 5,000 left. That's because we have 2 pumpers on order, which is about 1.1 million. So that's encumbered money. So we don't count that we don't count it as an expenditure yet, but it does count against what we have available. So for the 2021 fiscal expenditures to date, we've spent about $683,846. We have about 1.3 million, a little over 1.3 million that are encumbered in projects. Again, the 2 pumpers being the majority of that. But just as a kind of a summary in there, some of the major completed projects that we have spent these funds on. We purchased and equipped our new services chief's vehicle, which was replaced. We purchased and equipped the new shift commander vehicle, which was a replacement based on our capital improvement and our replacement plan. This year we made upgrades to our Plimo vent system. The Plimo vent system is the exhaust system that we hook up to our all of our vehicles inside the station so that they don't expel the exhaust into the station. It's actually expelled out into the air. So it makes our stations a little bit safer, a little more cancer free. That was about $110,000 upgrade that we had to do. We've also had installations of security cameras at all stations. Again, about another $100,000 to put security cameras in. That's one thing that we didn't have at stations, and these are primarily outdoor cameras to look at our front door and back door and our parking areas, with several of the doors getting entrance cameras so that some of our stations that have a lot more walk-ins, people on the street that walk up to them. This gives us the ability to keep record of a lot of those kinds of entries. We also made a upgrade at Station 10 by installing a gear and washer extractor. That puts us at about 6 stations right now that have gear washers and extractors. Again, for cleaning our gear, again, part of our big cancer initiative that we've been dealing with over the past few years. Some of our projects that are in process, we're in the process of replacing our inspector vehicles. We had it in our plan for this year to replace 1. The city went with a contract with Enterprise Rental Company on vehicles that allows us to do a 1-year lease on vehicles and then turn them back over for almost a minimal charge. So what we're doing is we're replacing all of our inspector vehicles with these enterprise lease. We're able to trade in our old vehicles towards it again so that it minimizes the amount of money for that lease. And the reason we'll only be doing this for our non-emergency types of vehicles, the inspectors and emergency management, because they're not as we don't have to install emergency lighting and equipment in them. They're not emergency response vehicles. They're more services types of vehicles that we have.
Chief, how many vehicles is that?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Chief Shelley. I believe we have 6 vehicles coming in.
Okay.
That is correct.
Yeah, we have 6 vehicles. 5 of them are in the inspection division, and 1 of them is in emergency preparedness.
Okay, thanks.
Some of our other projects in process, again, with the other vehicles, we have 2 pumpers that are on order. Those were in this fiscal year. We have an aerial that's also on order, which that money was expended actually last fiscal year. We paid ahead and got a huge discount by paying ahead on it. We expect both of those to deliver, in this calendar year. However, COVID kind of slowed delivery of both of those down, or all 3 of them. But We would expect to have them all in by the end of the calendar year. We have some computer replacements that we still need to work on for the year. They're kind of a major purchase. And then we're also getting ready to finalize our upgrades on our mobile radios. We'd already done most all of our portable radios. We have a few mobiles that now need to be switched out. And we'll have pretty much replaced all of our radios to the newer models. That's my report. If you got any questions, I'm ready to answer.
Okay, anyone have any questions for Chief Short?
No.
Chief, I had a question just from a standpoint of helping me when I look at these reports. I didn't know how hard it might be to add a column that had the encumbrances in there, just so that we could kind of, as you're looking down through there, you can see where the encumbrances were. If that's real difficult, that's one thing. If it, but I just didn't know how difficult that might be.
No, I can add that. That's not too difficult, because usually most of our encumbrances are going to be large item purchases that are PO'd. So it's pretty easy to track down those encumbrances.
Okay, I just thought from a reporting standpoint that might be a little helpful.
Basically, if you look at the projects in process, those are where most of our encumbrances are right now.
Right, that's what I assumed to be the case. Yeah. It's just kind of hard to tell, how much money you're talking about in different areas. I mean, I think you can kind of figure it out, but maybe it would be easier just to indicate on the projects in process the encumbrance amount over to the right of that. That would be all right as well.
Okay.
Either way is fine, at least from my perspective.
Okay, will do.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? All right. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve and accept the quarterly report from the fire department?
I'll make that motion.
All right, Brad, thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second. This is Erin.
All right, Erin, thank you. Any further discussion? If not, I will call the roll. Donna? Are you with us, Donna? Did we lose Donna? All right, let me keep going. Pat?
Yeah.
Okay, Erin?
Yes.
And Brad?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if we lost Donna or not, but
Okay.
if not, maybe she can join back in, hopefully. So, and I would vote yes as well. So that's enough to approve that. So we will move on to the update from the police department. Chief Halsey, I'm assuming you're going to turn this over to somebody else, but I'll...
Jared.
I always turn it over to the smarter person, and that's Denise.
All right. Was that Donna?
Jared,
did you?
Yeah, I heard it all. For some reason, though, it wasn't going through. So
Okay.
just wanted to let you know. I
All right,
did have one question for Chief Short.
Sure.
Chief Short, could you elaborate just a little bit on 5401, please?
Capital outlays for buildings.
Yeah, is that repairs or it says construction?
Yeah,
So
usually
it's
it's like driveway replacement. Anything that is fixed to the stations, the Plimo vents are fixed to the stations. That's what would have fell under that aspect of it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Donna, so let's record your vote. Do you want to vote?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Donna. All right. moving right along. We're gonna turn it over to Dania.
Smarter than I, and I've learned that you always do that. So
I don't feel like the smarter person today, let me tell you. I don't know if you all received an email from me with a revised report, but I did send it out just about 30 minutes before the start of the meeting. And I'm going to try and share my screen here also. So in case you haven't received it or just haven't had a chance to look at it yet, hopefully you can see it on the screen here shortly. My computer is slow. Goodness.
Dania, if I need to, I can try if you're not successful, and I'll just move it when you need it moved.
It's trying here, but why is it not? It doesn't want to show it.
See if I can. Are you guys seeing my screen?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Dania, I'll just, you want me to go to the next, I will.
Okay, we're seeing your email right now, Chief.
Are you looking at it?
Looking at your email, or the email, not the report.
You just open it.
Hold on. I think after a year we'd have all this technology down to pat, but we
Oh, there's Dania. She
yeah,
just
I think
pulled
you're
it
just
up.
I think it finally loaded.
Yep.
The spinning circle finally went away, so I think we're up and running now.
Yep.
Okay, so just like the fire department, this report goes through February. There's some background information there, which we keep on there for whenever we have new members, they can take a look at that and get just a little bit of information on the tax itself. On page 2, it shows our beginning unassigned fund balance for the year was $2,534,213. The sales tax collected and investments and other income through February total $1,596,885, giving us a total balance available there of $4,131,098. Any questions on the revenue there?
No.
No.
Okay. The expenditures under communications and facilities are shown there on the second part of page 2. It'll show you the projected or budgeted amount for each particular project or item, the actual spent, and the variance. You can see we're over budget on a few things. Others were under budget. We pretty much just look at the total that we have in there. So what if there's a line item that we've gone over on the balance available that's on the other line items, we'll cover it. the biggest one there is the portable radios, and that was due to the use tax officers that we hired and we had to equip.
Okay.
Any questions on those categories?
Mhm.
No.
Equipment is on page 3. Same story there. There's nothing really new. The change from the original report that I sent out is there in the middle of page 3. I've kind of broke the expenses down a little differently to show the current year expenditures and the prior year rollovers. Those would be purchase orders that were issued last year for equipment that we didn't receive yet by the end of the fiscal year. So those purchase orders and the funding for them rolled over into this fiscal year. I'm needing to keep track of those separately in order to come up to the correct unassigned fund balance, which you see down below. So with the beginning fund balance, the revenue and other income collected, and then the expenses for this fiscal year, we have an unassigned fund balance of $1,963,566. And then there are $239,451 encumbered funds for the items that are listed below. $20,543 of that amount is funding that was rolled over from last fiscal year, and the rest of it is for this current fiscal year. I'm not sure if it means all that much to you. It's just I'm showing it so that I can match up to the finance reports a little bit easier. Any questions?
Okay. Anybody have any questions for police on this report?
It's not about the report, dear, but I have a question for the chief on, just was wondering if, in the light of current events, are all patrol officers equipped with long guns?
No. Every car, for example, patrol, every car has an assigned long rifle, a 223, an assigned shotgun, and an assigned less lethal shotgun as well. And then, of course, everybody is issued their own handgun. And then your SWAT operators, they have their own inventory of weapons that they carry. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and do all the officers, do they all have the Glock?
Yes, when we changed from the 6-hour, we had a committee that did all the testing and looked at the FBI reports. They do a phenomenal job of testing ammo, and that's what the decision was, to go department-wide on the Glock, 9mm Glock, correct.
And maybe on the body armor, I probably could have missed something since not much has been spent this year. Is where we stand with the body armor replacement program.
Yeah, Dania can probably speak to that better than I can.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Donna, most of that is showing in the encumbered funds. We've got a bunch of them ordered. We actually just received a large group of them yesterday, and those will start getting issued. So by our next report, you'll see more showing as actual expenses up above.
Okay, thank you, Dania.
And the body armor has a 5-year basically warranty. So every 5 years, you have to replace that. I think, quite honestly, that we just can't extend beyond that, because if something, gosh forbidden, happens. So it's every 5 years that we're purchasing those.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for police department?
Chief, this is Brad. How are we doing on staffing level? Are we still on the search, I'm assuming?
Yeah, we're just like the entire nation right now.
Right. I understand that completely.
Matter of fact, I just got our latest report. We have, and this is the general fund. This is not the use tax fund, okay? But we have 16 vacancies. We have 14 conditional offers. As far as the police side of things, we're actually having oil boards today, and quite honestly, the level of men and women that are put in for it, as far as we want them up here, not down here. Unfortunately, that has became very obvious, not just to us, but other people. It doesn't mean they can't do the job. It just means they may have to have a little bit more guidance and, things like that. But I think it's unfortunate. I think this is going to get worse before it gets better. But we are talking about doing hiring incentives, lateral transfers, just, what else we can do to get additional people. And one last note on that, if Kansas City Police Department has to cut $11 million, I just don't see how they're going to keep that academy open. So that's going to put us into another quandary. It's because they do all of our training for recruit officers. So it's just we get, keep getting through curveballs thrown at us, but we're charging for it as much as we can.
Right. I understand that. I understand. Yeah. In this climate right now, yeah, it's got to be difficult to recruit anybody. So. Yeah.
Yep. And, and keep in mind too, as if you hire somebody that's not certified, it's a year before they're out on their own. Yeah. 6 months of, 6 months of the academy and 6 months of field training. So yeah.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Anytime.
Okay. Any other questions? Chief, just a question maybe about vehicles. We've had conversations about vehicles in the past, and looks like most of those maybe have come in now. But and do you want to comment at all on that?
And for committee members that hadn't heard this, just real quickly, when they change the Ford, they'll change it to say 7 inches wide. Well, then you have the dilemma of having to buy new cages and all that. They raised the cost of those, so we ordered 10 Chargers because the price, I think we're saving about $10,000. Long story short, they're doing the same thing, and we're back to the SUV Interceptor is what we're purchasing now. And I believe, unless Dania knows different, I believe that they're all here and getting taken down to our outfitter that he's outside of Warrensburg. He's a retired firefighter now, but him and some other gentlemen that work for him do all of our equipment installs. So does that answer your question, Jared?
Yep, that's what I was wondering. Okay. Then that background's helpful, especially for Pat. So.
Thank you. Right.
Okay. Well, if there's any other questions, we have a motion to accept the quarterly report from the police department on the sales tax.
I'll make a motion, Jared.
Okay, Donna, thank you. We have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Brad. I think I heard Brad first, and there may have heard somebody else. It's kind of the way it comes through that way, but all right. So I'll call the roll then on that. So we'll start with Donna.
Yes.
And Pat.
Yes.
And Aaron.
Yes.
And Brad.
Yes.
All right, that is approved. So let's move on to the use tax.
Real quick, just something I thought of, Donna, just another piece of the weapons assignment. So if our non-uniform units that are not out there every day, but they do have access if they're going on a higher potential for violence, they do have the ability to have weapons that are assigned to those units, but the uniform officers out there every day, that goes back to my first answer. I just wanted to make sure I was transparent as I can be about that.
Well, and also I was thinking about this. So each officer is not assigned a long gun. They would have to be in the vehicle to have it. Would that be the case, Chief?
Yeah, but keep in mind that's their office. So anytime they leave here to go to work, reporting for duty, they have all those weapon platforms available to them.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll just share with you all too, that the Police Foundation is really starting to get legs underneath it. And we put a request in for future to issue, we need about 100 and I can't remember, basically half more than what we have now to assign a taser to every commissioned officer. The reason for that is if they do away state statute wise, if they do not allow, they call it a chokehold. We call it the LVNR, lateral vascular neck restraint, which is very safe, but that's going to increase. My fear is, and I believe I'm going to be right on this, if they do that, it's going to increase your officer involved shootings. The less tools you have to deconflict a situation, it's going to make a big impact. So anyway, the foundation, they had that as one of our priorities, so that should help us too.
Chief, are they still talking about, riot? Well, not riot gear, but the other protective gear that you talked about. Are they still? Yep. Is that still in discussion?
No, it's done. We ordered that, and Dania may have to correct me, but I think we used Dania. Didn't we use general fund and forfeiture fund, or am I misspeaking about this?
We used forfeiture funds.
Yeah. So we moved it. Originally we had it as use tax. We moved that all over to forfeiture, and we got that ordered and received. I believe it's all received at this point.
Okay, great.
It is.
All right, great. Glad to know that. So, okay, well, we'll move on to the use tax report.
Okay, so the first page and second page at the top half anyway, just give you the background information. So the real meat of it starts in the middle of page 2 with the beginning fund balance at the beginning of this fiscal year was $667,093. I added a line from the first report that I had sent out, the final adjustment for the actual 1920 fiscal year accrual. That's an amount of $85,905 that the finance department has adjusted. That was funds that when they finally figured out exactly what they had received for last fiscal year, the animal shelter had already hit their $750,000 amount that they were supposed to receive. And this $85,905 was above and beyond that. So it kicked over onto the police side. So the balance now is the revised fund balance for beginning of the year basically is $937,998. The tax collected and interest earned on that through February is now at $2,420,436, giving us $3,358,435. So you can see this fund is growing really quick, and it's fabulous. Were there any questions on that?
No, I think so.
So page 3 gives you a list of the hiring activity under the use tax. You can see that there's 14 that we've currently got under the use tax, the names that are on there and have been crossed off are ones that we hired, and for whatever reason, they've either moved on to a different position within the department or they've left the department completely. So we've got the 14 left that are currently still here.
One of the
highlighted the ones that are certified, so you can kind of see some of them are coming in already certified as officers, so they're not having to go to the academy. Go ahead, Chief.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so one of the challenges we've been having is several recruits, and I think it's up to 3, if not 4, have quit either the first day of the academy or within the first week. They quit, which honestly, I'd rather them, I mean, yeah, we have some investment in, but I'd rather them figure out it's not for them that early than waiting, you know, a year from now. But unfortunately, that is happening. And we had to terminate one recruit. Basically, she had no business doing police work when she lies to the academy and lied to the federal government. She was positive, and she got on a plane and went to Mexico, and it's a lot of other issues. So we're struggling, you know, on that end of it as well, keeping people that stay in the academy. So I want to give you a little bit more information on that.
Just a question. So number 2 there says certified P2. What does that mean, P2?
That's the pay scale, the Fraternal Order of Police pay scale. So if you're a certified officer, you come in with a minimum of 4 years, I believe it is, experience, you can get hired into that second level instead of starting at the beginning. So we have a recruit payment or recruit scale, and then once you get out of the recruit and get certified, then you go to 1 and then 2 and then so on and so forth.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for on the use tax?
I do. I just clarification. So this use tax, is it mainly for the purpose of personnel only? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's for police officer positions.
All right.
Yeah, it's so it's 30 police officer positions, I believe. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on what we're talking about. If you hire a certified, they're going to make a little bit more money. But yeah, the target's 30, but we won't know till the end of the day if it's 30, if it's 28, 29. We just don't know yet.
Correct. All right, that answered my question. Thank you.
And maybe just for Pat's benefit, we had some initial discussion that not only could it potentially fund the police officers, but also some of their equipment. But the city council made a decision, at least at this point in time, not to utilize these funds for any equipment, and because they felt like there was enough funds available in the sales tax fund. But I suppose they might choose to revisit that at some point. That's at least possible. But that's what the decision so far has been on that. So.
Yeah, correct. And at some point, whether I don't know the answer if it needs to go back to the community to vote or what, because we will not be able to sustain all the equipment out of the public safety sales tax. Because for you that have not been on the committee that long, we can share with you basically everything that we have assigned out money-wise is for ongoing technology, maintenance, and all that. So we don't have any fluff or money that we can start a new project with, if that makes any sense. I mean, it's great to have. We'd be a complete different place. But my point is, that's a lot of money for cars and, you know, everything else. So we'll figure it out, I'm sure, as a community and city. So.
Well, and in that regard, I'll just make a personal observation relative to the fund balances on both police and fire on the sales tax side of things, and that being that to start a year out with around 2 million or $1.5 million or whatever of fund balance before you move into the year. To me, it wouldn't bother me as a citizen to have that balance be lower. In other words, to have you eat into that reserve a little bit. Now that may just be my own, like I say, that's my personal opinion. It wouldn't bother me to see that be used as opposed to left in a fund balance. But I also know that you guys are managing those, and so I just offer that for whatever it's worth, which is just my opinion.
And that's a good observation. And quite honestly, we're very fiscally responsible on that money. And here's why. If you look at the numbers today, that money we're not going to have enough money to pay the bills at the end of the public safety sales tax, right? Like we already said, the sales tax right now is going down, but the use tax is going up because the internet sales. So I guess it's an insurance policy to make sure that we can, stretch that out as long as we can until, the current tax is done, I guess, the best way to say it. But yeah, I mean, we do, like we've been doing it for the new hires under the use tax now, but when you talk about 30 and we haven't even talked about cars, that's where you're right, Jared. I mean, it's going to get difficult. So, but yeah, good observation.
And also with this issue with the use tax, because I see it as an issue as well, obviously, wasn't it basically the interpretation of the ballot language is why the city council, or was there something else?
I don't know.
Well, I guess, Donna, I watched that conversation a couple of times on the city council. I wasn't able to be part of that meeting, but I listened to it a couple of times, and I think it was more of a difference of opinion because the message that we got through city manager's office and the legal team was that they felt like it was a legitimate expense, but city council said basically they said as long as they wanted to see us use the public safety sales tax funds for that as opposed to the use tax, at least as long as there was funds available for that purpose. They didn't necessarily agree with, well, I don't know. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but that's just, that's the decision they made, at least at that point in time, which is obviously their prerogative. So.
Yes, and that's how I saw it as well, but perhaps we can revisit that here in the near future.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, if I could jump in. This is Mark Randall. I was just going to say that the ballot language said fund 30 officers. And so that's why there was a little bit of a uncertainty there, because that's a little bit vague to say fund 30 officers. What does that exactly mean? So they did ask for input on that, and then the council in the end made the decision what they think that means. And for now, they think that means, they're saying it means salary and benefits.
So, Mark, could they revisit that if they wanted to? I'm assuming they could. Would that be accurate?
Yes. That's what the city attorney was basically saying is that since it was so vague, it really comes down to the council's interpretation. And as Chief Halsey said, maybe, that they really feel like if that's what the voters meant, though, that's what they're sticking to, what they think the voters meant, but as Chief indicated, maybe they could, at some point, they might have to ask for another more input from the voters on interpretation if it really becomes a problem. But for now, they said go with the try to see how long we can stretch the sales tax to try to equip those 30 additional officers.
Well, thank you. That's helpful. I mean, from this voter's perspective, it's hard to envision the idea of hiring officers and not equipping them. But at the same time, I understand what they're saying, and there is other funds available at the present. If there becomes a point in time when there's not other funds, then at least maybe this committee could speak up on behalf of our role and at least make a statement if we choose to do so. So I guess that's within our prerogative. So. Okay, well, any other questions on the use tax? I kind of took us a different direction. My apologies for that, but any other questions on the use tax? All right, then. I'd entertain a motion to approve the quarterly use tax report from the police department.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, I'm not sure who I heard there first. I think I heard Brad. Is that right?
No, it wasn't me.
No, it wasn't Brad. So it was Pat. So I heard Pat first, and then I heard Donna. Donna will take yours as a second, if that's all right.
Yes, thank you.
All right. If there's any other discussion before we vote. All right. If not, I'll call the roll. Donna?
Yes.
And Pat?
Yes.
And Aaron?
Yes.
And Brad?
Yes.
Okay, we're approved. All right. Next thing on the agenda is to discuss the semi-annual presentation to the City Council. I'm not sure when that is or what the environment's going to be for that. Anybody want to fill us in?
Okay, this is Chief Short. So the presentation is for the April 12th meeting. But however, because they're in current hybrid, the council's made the decision that a written report is fine. So just a written report from Jared on discussions and what was approved here could be made to the council and presented to the clerk's office.
Okay. So I would send that to the city clerk?
Yes. And if you want to work with Heather on that, and we'll kind of give you some guidance on what we've had in the past.
Yeah, I think
when
I
it
have
comes to memos, so.
I have some stuff, but yeah, I'll work with Heather on that. We'll get that taken care of. I'll copy both the chiefs in on that when I send it to the city clerk. So, okay, that's easier than doing it in person. So, so. All right.
Jared, real quick, I'm going to speak on behalf of, I know Doug Short feels the same way, and the police department as well. But to the new members that are on here now, we appreciate you guys doing this. This is an important committee for a number of reasons. We just want to thank you for stepping up and doing that. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Chief. And let's see. While we're talking about that kind of stuff, I guess I would ask Chief Short. I'd ask you to pass on our congratulations to Mark for his retirement, and we look forward to working with Mr. Shelley as well. And our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, June 23rd. Does anybody have any, I'm just looking at calendar here.
Jared, this is Chief Short again.
Yes.
So one of the opening criteria that we're starting to look at now from COVID is that the mayor has said that meetings can go to hybrid now, the committee meetings. So it is your choice as a committee if you want to meet in a hybrid format where some of you can meet, you can still log in. However, your only options to do that hybrid meeting are to utilize the city council chambers or the IUC main training area.
The
Independent Utility Center.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah, it has to be recorded. That's why we're limited.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, let's get some feedback from the committee on whether you would prefer to meet in person at one of those facilities, or assuming we can get it scheduled, or would prefer to continue like this.
I would
I'd
prefer
say-
in person.
Yeah, I agree with Donna.
Okay.
I'm all in favor of in person also.
I'm okay with whatever.
Okay. And yeah, I'd guess I'd prefer in person as well. So I guess I'm looking to Heather. Heather, maybe you can find to see if one of those locations is available for us on June the 23rd.
Yep, I'll check it out.
And probably, and then we'll kind of go from there. One of the other things that we had talked about back probably a year ago is having an opportunity to maybe do some, just hands-on, showing us police vehicle and things of that nature, maybe showing us something at the fire department that might be helpful at future times. I'm not sure what would be most helpful. I think when we look at least on the police side of things, when we look at the money that goes out for the vehicles and things of that nature, and all that it takes to equip that, it might be nice to lay our eyes on that sometime. We had that scheduled, and then we had to cancel it because of COVID. I think the same kind of thing would be helpful on the fire department at some point, but we could kind of rotate, at some point, not maybe after one of our meetings, then to take a look at a police car one time, look at, something on the fire department another time, just so that we have a little more knowledge. I think that would be, at least for me, that would be helpful. I'm assuming it might be helpful for others as well. So we'll look to you guys to maybe schedule something like that for us as well. So.
Yeah, I agree. I want to.
We'll do whatever, whenever you guys need it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brad. Brad, I didn't hear what you said.
I said I completed the Citizens Police in 2017 and then CERT training in 2019. And yes, it was very informative to see the equipment, the cars, what job they're actually doing. We're seeing what they're actually doing. It was really informative to find that out. So
yeah, I think that'd be very helpful.
It'd be a great idea.
Well, maybe just after a meeting to take 15 to 30 minutes and kind of run us around a police car or run us around a fire engine or something like that. I know there's, I know what the difference between an aerial device and a pumper is, but that's about as far as my knowledge on those kind of vehicles goes. And so, that kind of information I think would be helpful to us. So.
Yes.
So the 23rd of June looked like a good date still. And so if I didn't hear anybody say anything different, so we'll shoot for that, Heather. And if you can find us a location to meet, if you can't, then you'll have to get back with us and we'll go to plan B. So. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I had one more thing. Was
Absolutely.
anybody aware of a meeting at Castle Elementary the 18th last Thursday about public safety?
It's going to be on, hold on just a second. I'll give you the date.
What our fellow committee person, Catherine, I probably a month ago heard something about it, and then I couldn't make it to it. I just wondered if everyone was aware of it.
No, I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that date.
Okay.
It's planned to be outside of the school, but if there's weather, Dr. Hurl said, what they can use the inside of the facility, the gym. So
it's still upcoming then, Chief, that meeting?
yes.
Okay.
Well, maybe if we could let you send something about that out to committee members if they are able to participate, that would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, and are we overstepping our committee responsibility? I mean, I just think we're supporting the police department showing up, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's the way I look at it, so.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're welcome. And I mean,
Okay.
if anything, you're a community member too, but it's on April 22nd is when that meeting is going to be at Castle Park School at 7 p.m.
Okay, 7 p.m. All right.
It says, if the weather's good, bring lawn chairs. If weather stinks, we'll move into the cafeteria.
Okay, good deal.
Okay, thank you. Anything else that anyone has for this committee before we entertain a motion to adjourn?
This is Donna. I just wanted to welcome Pat Casey on board. When I saw the name, I was trying to figure it out, and you explained it, so glad to have you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Pat's a great guy, yes.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make
I'll
a
make it.
motion.
Okay, Aaron, I heard a motion by Aaron. We'll take Brad's as a second. And so I guess we'll run down through I'll be glad when we can all be in the same room and say aye as opposed to having to go through these again. So Donna, is that okay with you?
Yes.
And Pat?
Yes.
And Aaron?
Yes.
And Brad?
Yes.
All right, we're adjourned. And so thank you everybody for your time, and we will hopefully be able to see each other in person on June 23rd, and we'll go from there.
All right, thank you.